Hey guys, welcome to Meet the Fight. Today we have Phil to join us. How are you?
Hello T, how are you doing? I'm doing very good today.
That's good to hear. I'm good too. So, what do you enjoy the most in your deco playstyle right now?
Well, the deck was initially crafted to not use flute swing mix-ups, while giving me good options for unlocks and god breaks. It's pretty much all I focus on right now.
So, how does your deck work?
Let's get right into it. Well, I'm gonna start off with saying this deck was initially made for unlocks and not using flute. And there's a good reason why I not use flute anymore, because I don't like the inconsistency on unstable matches. So, what does my deck do and what options do I get? I wanted to have a deck that gives me good options from left or right, because it seems like that Phagent is getting more and more popular. I wanted to have something where I can go left or right at any possible moment. Because if you look at this is a left, and if I unlock step cancel, I get my sidekick, which is a right, or that is my crane. So everything sets up in my deck for guard breaks. If I break with sidekick, I can get my spinning high kick into my back Uro. So I get 214 plus 100 is 300 plus damage. If I break with my cleaver, I can get my curled into back fist into crane again. If I break with my face back fist, I can do my wallop into face back fist into back aura. If I break with Liverny, I can get my wobble into face back fist into back aura. So I made sure that every time I get a guard break with somebody that I unlocked or where I applied a mix-up, I can actually get good damage. Because I think that's what most people should focus on, especially when they play Windfall.
Okay.
So the second point that was really important to me is making heavies safe. And there are only a few options. To me, I think Crane is one of the best moves in the game, obviously, since most people use Crane Fluid Crane. I don't like that mix-up at all. I think it's really overused and people are getting used to the animation way too much. So I tried to focus on what can I actually do with Crane. So if you look at the stats, Crane gives me +3 on guard, +7 on hit, which makes my Liverny safe. And my Liverny, if somebody takes it on block, it's 6, on hit it's 8. +6 is already enough for me, because that makes my cleaver safe. Cleaver on block, not that amazing, it only gives me +4, but it pseudo makes curled uppercut safe, because you usually cannot 12 frame interrupt. So I'm on block 6, 7 on hit, which makes my back fist safe. So the initial concept is really simple. This is more my top right is set up in a way that's focused around breaks and breaks only. If I break, I want to get as much damage as possible. If I go into my top left, I want to pressure your stamina as much as possible. If I'm at my bottom left, there I actually have two options that I really love, which I'm gonna showcase in a moment. First of all, I think face back fist is one of the best guard breaking moves in the game, and people should really stop using pushback kick, because I don't see a point in pushback kick anymore. I used to play pushback kick on every deck that I used, literally on every deck. But now, I actually think that face back fist is better. And from testing a lot, we actually noticed that you can confirm a lot more damage with face back fist. Which is actually crazy, because pushback kick should be the guard break, should give you better confirms. Unfortunately, it does not. And then I have at my bottom right, I have a very basic Windfall mix-up, which is Temple Knock, my underknee, and Urmawashi, which has only one bad thing. because temple into under knee is not safe. You can always crane or wobble low into it, and I cannot gold link. So this is also more a step cancel thing. Now, let's get into step cancels. How do I use them and why do I use them? First of all, I think this is one of the best zoning and getting in step cancels in the game, because it has good range, gives me actually solid on hit, +6, and +6 is already enough to make my liver knee safe again. So that's one thing you should always keep in mind. If I block, I actually know that I have a bottleneck there. So if somebody presses a 12, I should always be able to react, duck, jump, whatever. If I use my face back fist, which has a really, actually deceivingly good step cancel, I can always just mix up and throw a unlock step cancel in there. Of course, another step cancel that I use is cleaver blow. Why do I use it? I think it's insanely good move. Like, pressures a lot of stamina, good damage, and that's actually a deceivingly quick feint. It's not that amazing against cult, I'm gonna just say it out, because I think against cult it's really not that good. You probably should use something else, but against cult you should probably not do this. Like, this will not do you any favor. Just feinting once and getting into a 12, usually better reward. And then I have another step cancel that's a little bit more tricky to input, which is my sidekick. Of course, this is just unlock step canceling, but it gives me a lot more options, because the better you get with the step cancels on sidekick, I can kind of control where it goes. Because it was literally unlock step cancel into manual reset, and it's not really a manual reset, but it goes into that stance, and then I get cleaver blow again. So there are a lot of options. That's literally what this deck was built around. I wanted to have more options available, because I thought my playstyle was lacking, so I had to adapt and do something else. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole idea on my deck. Oh, there's one thing I actually want to mention, because I get asked this a lot. Why no guard breaks? Right? Why not?
Yeah, that's a question. That's also a question I often heard why people often don't use guard breaks, or why even bother using it.
For me, there are two reasons. First of all, I don't think that guard breaks from front kick are actually that good, because I could use front kick as a windfall or pushback kick. Like, these are not insanely bad moves, but, and there's like one part that I dislike. I think the more you focus on your guard breaks, you're actually lacking mix-ups that are actually difficult to deal with. Of course, there's another exception to this rule. I think against the usual cult, it would be better to have a guard break, because this is not a punish. If I do this to a windfall, this is a punish. If I do this to a cult, not a punish. Easily double absorbable, and nobody will probably fall for this. Of course, if you have a lot of conditioning in your gameplay, what you should have, you can hit it occasionally, but you have to do it very sparingly. But let's get back to a point, why not front kick? Front kick doesn't actually confirm a lot of things. Of course, you can just use spinning high kick, but the more and more I played against people who use avoid moves like Tetsu, And Tetsu is probably the most used avoid move right now, especially used by the modern cults. I think it's not that valuable. And having a horizontal instead, aka Deitetsu, I sidekick, I win. Very good for me. But if I front kick Deitetsu, they tend to win that most of the time. Also, the tracking on front kick, in my opinion, a little bit overrated. Yes, it's good, but it's not good enough for me. Because I value consistency way over extreme output. For pushback kick, I got rid of it because you can't really get any really good confirms of it while not sacrificing mix-ups. And all I wanted to do is have like good mix-up on every occasion. Because right now, every feint that I do, I can always unlock step cancel from left to right, even though this doesn't lead to side kick. So there's always options. I wanted to have the most options available ever. At least for my playstyle. Yeah, I mean, there was one little point that I wanted to go over. As a windfall, most of the time you're not in a aggressing position, you're on the defending position. But on windfall, you're the strongest defensive class in the game. So all you have to do is tap block, of course, because that's where I get a lot of value. And then you stamina pressure really hard. That's why most of my deck is actually really heavy. And I think you should always, as a windfall, it's your job to win the stamina game. If you're losing the stamina game, not good. That's why I avoid only using like 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. I'd rather go heavy at some point, because I think that's where windfall shines, and that's how you should play windfall. But yeah, that's pretty much the most valuable points to me, and that's why I enjoy it so much. Always had kind of a fable for unlocking away, for spacing or going in. Of course, you can do your standard double back Ura. You can do the classic go in and out with liver knee. I have like a weird one where you crane away, which is actually not too bad. But I don't use it that much anymore. So I think, I don't know. For spacing, I don't like it. It's more like an alpha thing. But he got really good at spacing around unlocks. And I don't like it. Never liked it. I just rather be in your face, pressuring you all the time, baiting options, getting avoids in while I think you mash. And that's pretty much my whole playstyle. A little bit over fancy in some occasions, because I could just sitting here doing this at some point would be more effective, but I'd rather just dance around my opponent because I think it's funny and it looks good. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And how do you play it?
I play just really, really heavy, because I'd rather have a lot of pressure on my opponent than just keep on going light. I'd rather just sit here and like throw big moves just to condition my opponent and hit very, very hard. That's what I love doing. I love just these big hitting moves, and that's why I put a lot of them into my deck.
And how do you play against other styles?
Okay, we do it step by step. If I fight against a windfall, this is my comfort matchup. I love that matchup, because then I know I can just go really heavy, and just bait them to do a mistake. Because side dodging into the wrong way sometimes gets you hit by even straights. So that's really, really comfortable for me. Playing against Cult, it's very, very different. I look for the blue flash and then just react to the 12. Or if they mix me up, I keep on mashing. Or the third option, they feint, so I have to still keep on mashing while keeping in mind they have a heavy option. Against Phajin, to be honest, I hate the Phajin matchup. That's why I always have some left and right mix-ups, and that's why what I really focus on. Left, right, low. Because Phajin doesn't really play well against lows, and I really abuse that as much as I can.
I'll practice that now.
And of course against the stagger, I really try to play around their staggers and not really focus too much on their deck, because it's mostly, at least most staggers, use a kind of windfall-ish deck, so it kind of fits my comfort zone, but I really just try to focus on their staggers, avoid them, and get my punish in and get back to neutral, because I don't want to get hit by front staggers. So I really try to focus, is it a back stagger, is it a front stagger, like do I have to side avoid here, do I have to duck here, and then just take small punishes, always 12 frame, never heavy. I only go heavy ever if I know 100% I can get a guard break, because my deck is built literally for guard breaks. If I get a guard break, I want to have as much damage as possible. So this is pretty much how I play the styles. Yes, I ignored Forsaken because there's not really much you have to keep in mind, because I think it's a non-working class. So I just think that playing against a Forsaken is almost playing against somebody who doesn't have a style.
Well, you don't. I mean, it is just like that. It's not only you think.
Yes, it is. So my comfort zone, Windfall, because that's where I tend to go extremely heavy. Against Stagger, I go really light on my punishes, because I don't like to get hit, and I abuse Crane. Crane, Temple, and Liver Knee. This is pretty much all I use in the Stagger matchup. Of course, this deck was already built with the intention of using these 3 moves, especially against Stagger. And yeah, I just think against Cult, there's a really big argument you should have a guard break in your deck. I don't like it, I never use it, I think Tetsuzanko beats it, so I'd rather just focus on them making mistakes, and I play really clean and really like punishment based, where I just cash in on my free damage on 12 frames, and that's it. That's pretty much how I play all the styles.
And is there something you're trying to improve?
Oh yeah, definitely. There is, what I really try to improve right now is canceling away again. Because the more I focused on me on unlock step canceling, the more I noticed there are some parts where it's not necessary for me to go in, because I play really aggressive most of the time, and there's not really a good reason to be the aggressor at every point, because there's actually good reason at sometimes just unlocking, going away, and resetting back to neutral. Like this. Of course, your deck has to be built for that. But that's what I really focus on right now. Playing a lot more my spacing game, because I think the better the people get, spacing game will actually matter. And right now it tends to matter a lot. So that's my main point of improvement that I need to do.
About spacing, I don't know why, but I just really like to back manual dodge into Liver Knee, like go away and instantly going into your face again.
Yeah. Because the range is actually insanely good. If somebody comes in with a move that's not like super reaching, you can always get them. I think it's actually an underused tool. Just manual dodging away. Like manual dodge in general should be used a little bit more. But yeah, spacing is the most important thing for me right now to improve. Because my defense, my offense is good enough, but my spacing is not where I want it to be. And I want it to be a lot better. Yeah, that's pretty much my main improvement I would say that I need and that I'm actually focusing on right now.
So let's do some fights to see it in action.